Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Blizzard Watch podcast. I'm your host, Matt Rossi. With me this week are my two fantastic co-hosts, Liz Harper and Joe Perez. I keep saying fantastic. I just switch it up to uncanny or amazing. I got to get some other comic book things in there.
Can I go with spectacular?
No, you'd have to. That's a one-shot thing. This has to be a team name.
Okay.
Friendly
neighborhood, then. I'll go with friendly neighborhood.
That's also a singular thing. You can't, Spider-Man. We'll talk about this later. First up, before we go into anything else, before we do any kind of intros or anything like that, let's talk about Twitch drops, because if you wanted that Feldrake mount that we mentioned last week, you can get it now. And how much longer can you get it, Liz? Do you know?
To December 1st.
Yeah, so one more day.
You gotta get on that.
Hopefully, if you're not listening to us streaming this, then we will get this up on the site soon enough for you to hear this warning, this dire warning.
Two things. If you are going for it and you're going to watch the streams that have the drops enabled, make sure your account is your Blizzard account is linked to your Twitch account. It's connected now before you do it. And once you claim it, it may tell you that you still need to reconnect your account. Just log into the game and see if it's there. You don't have to disconnect and reconnect your account. In fact, doing so puts you on a 7-day cooldown before you can reconnect your account. And I have heard people who have had issues with other drops where they've tried to do that because the drop got stuck and it just sort of disappears from their collection. Just a warning.
Now, I actually had that problem with the Dragonkite toy, where it said my account wasn't connected, and I'm like, I was claiming Hearthstone drops via Twitch like 2 days ago, and I just went through the process of, clicking all the connect buttons again, and it's like, hey, your account is connected. Like, I did that without disconnecting it first.
Yeah.
And then suddenly everything worked.
Yes.
But you actually can claim those rewards after, if your account is not linked, but you do the viewing to get them. You can attach your account after you've hit that limit. So you aren't, if your account isn't connected to your Twitch account, that's not the end of the world. Just link them up, do the appropriate amount of viewing, and you can get the thing still. But Feldrake is 4 hours of Dragonflight content you have to watch on Twitch. And then, boom, Feldrake. Really cool.
Shout outs to Taliesin and Evital and Noble for, providing content that I watched today to go get my drop.
There's also the Ichabod pet, which is... that one's kind of weird. You can go to certain streams, certain WoW streams. There's a list on the World of Warcraft site, and you gift subscriptions for those streams. You have to gift 2 subscriptions, which is $10. Which is the same you would pay for a battle pet on the store.
Also, make sure that if you are gifting them, you cannot do it anonymously or it will not register. You have to do it non-anonymously. You have to basically let it tell the person who gifted the sub or it will not count. I saw somebody gift 20 subs as anonymous and then freaked out.
Ouch. You also have to make sure it is a streamer that is on Blizzard's list. It can't just be anyone streaming Warcraft. It has to be someone on this list.
Yes, it is a very specific list.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, this is all stuff that I went through today.
Yeah. And these are really cool things you can get, and you may not be able to get ever again? I don't know. These are things from the trading card game that have been unavailable for a really long time unless you spent tons and tons and tons of money. So yeah, if you're listening to the stream, go get your Feldrake as soon as possible. And also, you can get Ichabod through December 12th. So you have a little more time on that. And that also takes a lot less time to get, just money.
So yeah, we should also talk about, I think Overwatch Season 2 starts on December 6th. So close to being the right day. I don't really know what exactly to talk about. I think I should mention that they confirmed that they're going to be having balance changes to multiple heroes. The article I saw said Mercy, Bastion, Doomfist, Sojourn, and Ana are all getting changed for Season 2.
Fifth, not 6th, by the way.
Okay, it said 6 on the thing I read, but whatever. So yeah, that's kind of interesting. Like, that's a lot of balance changes for one patch. Usually you hear about 1 or 2 characters getting balance changes, not everybody. Like, 5 heroes at one go is a lot of change. So
Sounds
yeah.
par for the course with the troubled release of Overwatch, though. So
I just figured I should mention it. There's of course the other things. There's the new hero. I was just watching a video on his origins. He actually is kind of interesting to me. That he's a angry Omnic who is essentially trying to lead an Omnic movement. And you know, I think quite frankly that makes a certain amount of sense. But I can't remember his name off the top of my head, which is Ramatra.
Ramatra. Yes.
Ramatra, yeah, there we go.
So he's a new tank. He looks pretty.
Yeah, and I do like the idea. Overwatch is really, I'll say this for them, their character design, just in terms of visual design, is usually spot on.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and I like we now get the head of Null Sector, which we've seen like in the trailer from BlizzCon 2019, and we've seen, you know, they're kind of like the Omnic villain group of Overwatch, and we now actually get to play as the guy who is their leader, and that's who Ramatra is. And you know, I don't play a lot of Overwatch because I get my eye blindness issue where one of my eyes doesn't work and the other one is working less every year. Means I'm not really good at playing it, plus get motion sickness constantly. But it looks like his abilities are based around, you know, that transformation. He's an Omnic and he can change himself. He used to be in the same group as Zenyatta, but I don't know if you guys remember from the I want to say Widowmaker and Tracer short, where Tracer's trying to stop Widowmaker, and Widowmaker assassinates the head of the Zenyatta's order. This guy was in that order.
I'm still waiting to see the cinematic that would come after that one. I still want to know what happens next.
Well, I think that's kind of what this is. That's what this is. This guy was a member of that order, and when she did that, when she killed, I think it was Hamaten? I don't remember his name. But when she killed him, it drove Ramatra here to create Null Sector. That's why he made Null Sector.
I thought Null Sector existed before that?
I don't know if he did or not, but the way that the trailer about his origin comes across, he was in that order with Zenyatta and that leader. And when that leader was assassinated, he's like, I'm not going to let my people be killed anymore. We're one generation and we're dying. Too many of us are dying too fast.
Yeah, and it's the Shambali, by the way.
Yeah, so he forms. If he didn't form Null Sector, then he took it over. But I think it's implied that he formed it. And his whole purpose is, you know, Omnics over everything. Like humans will never share the world with us, so we'll have to make our own future. And I like that. I like this idea of this character who really will explore what it is to be an Omnic in ways that we've gotten Bastion and we've gotten Zenyatta, but this is one who's actually the aggressive one, who's more like the Omnics that we had from the Omnic War. Null Sector's more of that kind of character, and I'm interested to see it. So that's whatever else you want to say about this. Like, I mean, there's a lot of things we can say about Overwatch 2 so far and Overwatch Season 2.
So here's the weird thing, by the way, and I just looked this up because I thought this sounded weird, but yeah, Mandata is the Takartha Mandata is the person you're talking about, right? He was taken hostage by Null Sector like before the Omnic Uprising, right? Before any of that stuff happened, and then was saved by Overwatch 28 days after being captured, which is where he met Tracer. And then he dies later. So like Null Sector existed beforehand. So if they might be, I don't want to say retconning it, but they might be course correcting that. I wonder if they are actually shifting the story. I'm curious about that now. I'm super curious about that now. If only there was a set of books, maybe, or a TV show that would help us understand the lore and the stream of it.
Our single player mode?
Or single player mode. Wait a minute. Can't have that.
Or a lore podcast somebody could do.
It's single player mode is supposed to come in 2023, but they have not promised any specific date, and it may or may not be tied to the battle pass or tied to some payment system. We don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And now we all sit here and be gloomy for a moment about how we really wish there was more story content in Overwatch out there.
I don't wish there was more story content. I just wished it was delivered more directly. You know, kind of like if everything World of Warcraft did, there were no quests. It was just constantly finding tapes. Or, hey, look, this poster on this wall implies that, you know, the Burning Legion might be coming. Wow, that should be something we should watch out for. You know? But yeah. So there's that. We talked about that. Looking at other things. I want to mention this one. Hearthstone March of the Lich King. I have here that's releasing on December 6th as well, but maybe it's December 5th. I don't know. But regardless, March of the Lich King is releasing next month, within a week, really.
Yeah, next month makes it sound further away than it is. It's like a few days from now.
I know nothing about this other than, well, it's the one where the Lich King gets into a fight with Lady Liadrin in their cinematic, so I'm interested to see how that goes.
That cinematic trailer is just so good. The Hearthstone cinematic trailer for March of the Lich King is so good. I'm just still so hyped about it because it's just presents the ultimate paladin fantasy of, just beating the heck out of the Lich King with the power of the light.
Or becoming the Lich King, as a paladin did.
Well,
yes, a paladin is the Lich King. If only there'd been a shaman would never have become the Lich King. Oh, wait. You know who didn't become the Lich King? A warrior. That's who didn't become the Lich King.
That is fact. That is, well, he did become the Lich King, just not creepy dark Lich King. He took over the role.
Who are we talking about? Bolvar?
Well, I mean,
Bolvar had more willpower.
Bolvar was a paladin.
Yeah. Wait, was he? I thought he was. I thought he was just a warrior.
Nope, paladin. Big old paladin. Pally, pow, pow. Used to drop seals when he was doing the big dragon fight.
Yeah.
Back when seals were something you could drop.
I totally forgot that he was a paladin.
Yep, 2 paladins and a shaman.
Yeah, I guess we do have kind of a bad track record there. I mean, I'm more on the side of the Liadrin paladin who's beating up the Lich King instead of the other way around. But the expansion kind of sets up this cool, interesting dynamic of the Blood Elves and the Blood Knights fighting against the Lich King with a bunch of, cards that sort of support this story. Hearthstone is another kind of game that always has an interesting narrative, but it's not very well expressed in gameplay all the time. But they have these cool concepts, and every expansion has an interesting theme. And so very soon you will get to play the Death Knight class, and I just think it's going to be a lot of fun. This is a fun expansion. It's just really based around some of my favorite class fantasies.
This is the first time they've actually put a new class in, isn't it?
It's the second time, because they did add Demon Hunters.
Oh, all right, cool.
So, we've got 2 classes. We still don't have monks, though. So,
Well, give them time.
Yeah.
We don't have evokers yet, so.
Yeah, well, evokers are pretty new across the board. But, I'm really interested in getting into this and trying some of the new deck building with Death Knights, because works a little differently, because they have this rune system where you have to have a certain number of runes to use certain cards. It's just an interesting setup. I'm looking forward to seeing how this plays out. You
have anything to add, Joe?
Nope.
Well, tough. You're talking. No. We should probably at least talk about. Well, no, actually, do we have anything else to talk about?
Wow, I don't know.
Anyway, no.
Did anything happen this week?
Yeah. Let's just cut to it, because there were no way I'm getting away with pretending this one. Dragonflight launched last night, 6:00 p.m. Eastern Standard, I think.
Yes.
Theoretically, yes.
So wherever you were in the world,
whether or not it worked is a whole other story.
Well, I mean, I've heard some people that I talked to got on the boat right away and got to the Dragon Isles and started having adventures. Other people were like standing in Stormwind or Orgrimmar for like an hour and a half before the boat/blimp showed up, and then it didn't leave, and so they were just stuck on the boat forever. I don't know how it was for you guys, so I'm going to turn to Liz now. How did it go for you?
I was more on the latter side. Actually, it seemed like all of Kalimdor was down for most of the evening, because I would try to go to Orgrimmar and it would just be instance not found. And then I would try to log on to my characters I'd left in Orgrimmar and it was instance not found. And then I was like, well, maybe I'll do some Shadowlands stuff while I'm waiting. I can finish out some quests, and it was instance not found. And then I logged into my warrior, who's in her garrison in Draenor, and it was like, okay, I can log on to this, but wait, what do I don't know that I have much to do over here. So, it was like 2 or 3 hours later that I actually got on and got to the Dragon Isles.
Joe, you said you played last night.
I did. I didn't log in right away. Partially because I was working. And then I saw everything sort of struggling and saw people like rushing in. I just decided to take my time, I always do on launches usually. And I decided to log in about 10, 11 o'clock at night, give or take, play for a couple hours. And it was smooth sailing once I logged in at that point. I know some other people had some issues. One of our guildies, I don't know how Corv manages to do this, but he really he likes to go fast, and as a result breaks himself in the game. So he kept getting yeeted offline because he kept doing Corv things. But for the most part, it seemed fairly calm around that time, which I think is a testament to the work that they were doing. Because I know that there was a bunch of firefighting mode going on. Because it's a huge, huge game. The initial area is a lot of heavy, environmental graphics effects between water and fire and wind, and there's a lot of people all cramming on because I think more people anticipated this one and we're looking forward to this one than Shadowlands. So it was bound to happen.
And then, of course, there's Waddles the Duck.
Yes, there's Waddles the Duck.
Yes. And clearly the most important character in the entire expansion.
Yeah,
the hero we need.
Or the big bad of the expansion. That's where I'm going with it.
Yeah, I hope not. I hope not. I don't want to have to kill Waddles the Duck. Come on.
Waddles the Rescue Duck.
Mm-hmm.
We'll kill Waddles the Rescue Duck to save Azeroth. No! But yeah, I didn't even try to log on until today. I logged on this morning around, I think, 9 or 10 a.m. and played for a couple hours. I got one of my mini warriors to 61, and now I'm playing a completely different warrior for the stream because that way I don't have to I think I left my character stranded on a tower somewhere, so I didn't want to have you guys just watch me stand on a tower for this entire time. When I can show you this dragon picture that's in the camp. I don't know why it's there, but whatever. But yeah, I had a good time. But I knew I was going to have a good time because I had a good time in the beta. I think anybody who did the alpha or beta knows that this is a relatively, I want to say fun. It's a fun expansion. There's certainly some, scary stuff going on with these, dragon incarnates and all that, but it's not as an expansion where you go to the land of the dead it's kind of got a lot of emotional baggage going on, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, whereas Shadowlands, had its good things. There's a lot of stuff about it I like, but it was kind of heavy, and it was also continuing a lot of plot threads from Battle for Azeroth that I personally would have liked not to have had continued. I was just really not interested in any more of them. I kind of like the nice 3-year break between the end of Shadowlands and the beginning of Dragonflight. I like imagining what my character's been doing. This particular character, this Night Elf character, I think has basically been helping her people rebuild however she could. We don't know what the Night Elves are currently doing. It's not actually been established what Tyranda's up to, what Malfurion's doing, any of that. But I do think that that's what my character would be doing. Whereas the Draenei I was playing this morning was definitely just taking it easy. It was like, oh, you know what? I'm cool. I feel like I'm going to take a break from fighting constantly. I'm sure there's something else I could do with my time. Maybe get a job in a cheese shop. I heard there's a cheese shop with an opening. So yeah, I like that about it too. I don't know exactly. There's so much to talk about. Liz mentioned that we could talk about Dragonriding because it is a pretty big departure from how flying works in every other part of World of Warcraft.
Huge.
Yeah. So Joe, you've played with it. You were in the beta for a while. What do you think of Dragonriding?
I like it actually. It's not without its shortcomings. It has some pitfalls when it comes to trying to navigate with it in enclosed spaces because it's always constantly have to have some forward momentum. But I like it. I think it's an interesting and good compromise to having straight flying out the get-go. I like the fact that there is Drake customization. I like the fact that there are at least 4 colors of Drakes, so that you can play around with it. You can make it, there's so many glyphs that you can find, and it's a nice little extra incentive to go find treasure chests and things like that out in the wild. I think it's fun. I think it's fine. I think it's not for everybody. I think there are some people who are going to have a hard time with it. I know for a fact that some people are going to have an issue with it with the blur lines. But I think you can turn those off.
You can turn off some of the visual effects for people with motion sickness
Okay.
and people who are bothered by those things. So
Perfect.
there, you do have options there.
But yeah, so far so good. Like I think it's a really fun compromise, and I think it's really neat. I think the way that it's woven into the story is pretty cool. I do enjoy the fact that there are races to do across everywhere, which is like a throwback to the Wind Serpent racing from Pandaria, which is really, that was a fun thing. And this is another fun thing. This is what Corv was doing, by the way, when he broke the game and yeeted himself offline multiple times.
Or do you remember way back when the Nether Drake grind included dragon races?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I did those way back in the day. I don't think that's part of the grind anymore.
It's not. They took it out a while ago, but yeah, for serious. Yeah. I don't know. Like I think it's a good addition. I think it's fun. I think it's a nice flavor thing, and like I said, it's a good compromise.
Liz, you got anything?
I completely love this system. It just has this really exciting, dynamic feel as you just zoom across the land. And also I hate it. So maybe those two cancel each other out and I'm neutral on it. I'm not sure. But the problem with Dragonriding is it's really good at this gotta go fast thing. You're soaring from one side of the map to the other. It's super good at that, and it's super exciting where you hit a moment where you can leap off something tall and just soar through the skies fast. Dragonriding maxes out at plus 900% speed. It can be insanely fast. The fastest flying mounts are 300% or 310 maybe. But I think the part that makes it awesome, all of this speed, is also something that can be really frustrating and something that differs so much from regular flying. Like, you can't... Dragonriding's always got to go fast, always got to go forward. You can't take a moment to get your bearings or look around or look at the ground below you and think, oh, there's something cool I want to look at. Or there's my quest objective. I need to go down there. You don't have any time to slow down and to think while you're on a dragon. You gotta go fast. You're always moving forward. And that requires kind of a little twitch reflex. And sometimes it makes it hard to do anything precise. Like, oh, I've got to go down here and land in this precise location, but I don't know exactly where it is. I've got to look at the ground, but by the time you look, it's too late. You've run into the ground. You've like crash landed into the ground at high speed.
So what you're saying is that you did not appreciate them adding Sonic the Hedgehog to this.
Like, I think it's fun, but there are some
You don't get your blue drake at first.
There are some things that it's not good at. So,
Interesting. How much do either of you think that you eventually would want regular flying in the Dragon Isles, or do you think that this would work well as you level up and get the talents in it and so forth? Do you think this is a better alternative?
I don't think it's a better alternative. I think that both exist and can exist at the same time, as they both serve very different purposes. Dragonriding is a customization option that lets you get from point A to point B very, very quickly. Flight lets you take a more direct path, but also lets you just kind of hover and take screenshots and do other things. I don't want it to completely replace traditional flying. I think both need to be there.
Yeah, that's the other thing. You can't take screenshots while you're Dragonriding. I mean, you can literally take a screenshot, but you don't have time to frame that. You gotta go fast. And it's interesting to have this system that's so different, bolted on, kind of classic World of Warcraft, which is like more read the quest text, pull out your map, which takes up most or all of your screen, and look at where you're going. You can't do that stuff. And I feel like there's a little bit of a rough edge where this new super speedy system meets this kind of classic World of Warcraft gameplay.
You know what I was thinking of when I was doing this last night too, is the thing that you miss out versus regular flying is, like, back with regular flying, if you were going over an area where you didn't do all the quests, sometimes a quest marker would pop up on your map and you'd be like, oh, what's down here? And you would veer off and take a sidetrack. It's harder to do with Dragonriding to a certain extent. It's not impossible, obviously. You can still do it. But because you're not at that slower pace, you may notice it and then move past it and then forget where it is or have a hard time coming back to it. Or you might take a little bit to figure out how to get to it if it's like underground or whatever, and you can't just hover and figure out what the lay of the land is. You miss out on that a little bit, and I remember that because I'm thinking about it now, and that happened to me last night where I know there's a little side quest area that I want to go back to because I'm that guy that does all the quests because that's just how my brain works. And like, I now need to remember where that was. So also pro tip for Dragonriding, put a map pin down before you take off, like where you want to go, put a map pin. It helps a lot.
Oh yeah, for sure.
All right, I think that covers Dragonriding reasonably well, but we didn't talk much about customization.
Do you have an opinion on Dragonriding though, Matt?
I liked it fine on the beta, but I haven't gotten a character to it in live yet because I keep doing that thing where I would play a character to level 61 and then switch to another character because, you know, I want to get that character to the Dragon Isles and get that character's profession straightened out and then switch to another one. This was the bane of my existence in Shadowlands. Was I had all these characters, I kept bringing them over. And Shadowlands, it was worse because for the first couple of patches, you couldn't skip them all.
I just see this meme, the meme of like the guy shooting the other guy, and why would so and so do this to themselves? And it's Matt leveling his alts. Like, it takes me forever to level the max level. Why would I do this to myself? And it's just a picture of Matt.
I know it's me. It is my fault.
But that's the joke.
Part of the problem is, you know, I tend to play with my wife. We tend to level these two specific characters together, which means that character doesn't get any play unless I'm with her. So that character never gets to max level. Meanwhile, because I don't want to have one character blaze up to 70 and then get super bored when I have to go back down to level 61, I'm deliberately not leveling any character to 70 super fast. But at the same time, I'm probably going to want to start running dungeons and doing raids and stuff, so I should pick one and go. I just have not done so yet. Other problem is I wanted to switch away from my Night Elf this expansion, and I still kind of do, but if you're watching the stream, here's my Night Elf. And I'm like getting to play her, like, you know, and none of this has anything to do with her homeland getting burned down. So, you know, this is like a real improvement for me. I don't have to dwell on that too much. So yeah, there's a lot, but I haven't gotten to do Dragonriding yet. I'm hoping to get to it on my Draenei today. Once we're done doing this, I'll go get some dinner and then I'll probably play for a few hours. But yeah, I think it's a good system. What I've seen of it, when I was writing the article and remembering it on the beta, I think it really came into its own when it when they put in the talents and started making it so you can get more vitality, because 3 is not enough.
Oh yeah,
3 vitality is not enough. If you just start the basic I have 3 vitality aspect, no, you're going to be suffering. When the talents get in, when you find all the glyphs and get everything bought up, then it's a lot smoother, in my opinion. But I think that's anything else on Dragonflight you want to talk about? Like, one thing I want to talk about is this inn that I'm currently in. There's a logbook, and have you signed the logbook yet?
Yes.
Yes, I have.
Did you see all the options?
Yes, I did.
I love the Sorry, you almost swore. I love the logbook. I really like the fact that like some of the answers are like normal answers, but some of them are astonishingly sarcastic. Like the one where it's like, I'm Alex Straza. You know, sign your name. I'm Alex Straza. Sign your date and last 10 years from now. I like the fact that you can just mess around in this logbook and be a silly dork if you want to. I like the interplay of the characters. The Explorers League and the Reliquary working together, and the Reliquary, the Reliquary lead is completely, charming and sophisticated and urbane. And she's like, well, Toddy and I, we're into knowledge. We're not into violence. And Toddy's like, and adventure. Toddy's continuously trying to, I don't get to go with you to fight the giants. I'm so depressed. And you're like, yeah, that's how you should feel about that. They're giants. So yeah, I do like a lot of this stuff in the opening so far. I always have, but I like really getting to actually see it instead of getting dropped into the Unarian plains just suddenly and having to playtest it. Mm-hmm. I like the story actually unfold. There's
a lot of really good quests too, I think, in the starting area.
Quality assurance alone.
There's a lot of quality characterization, which I think is really neat. There's also some really good moments. I encourage people to experiment, and one that I actually recommend people do on multiple characters is when you get to the second area where you basically meet up with Alexstrasza, this is not much of a spoiler. You know, you meet up with Alexstrasza at some point. There's a quest where a character's story options and interactions will actually change based off your faction and your character race. And I thought it was really well done. It is a little bit of an emotional gut punch, but it is really well done. I honestly, I actually wish that it was voice acted. Like, I wish there was something more to it.
Oh, yes.
Because
I know which one you're talking about.
Because
now.
I can just hear the voice in my head of how it would sound. Blizzard, if you want me to come in and record it, I'll do it for you. I'll put on all airs. Let's go. But it's really well done. And that's the only thing that would have made it better is if it was voice acted.
I mean, there are so many good quests, and what I like is that there's a lot of characterization in these quests. Maybe I'm reading it wrong, but it feels like we're getting a lot more individual characters with individual personalities. Everyone has lots of dialogue options. Most people you go up to, and it's not just turn in this quest. It's turn in this quest and maybe also ask a couple of questions and learn more about the world or learn more about this person. So you get a lot of depth out of it. And I'm just fascinated by all of this. And then you do have some quests like the logbook where there are multiple answers. There may be multiple answers based on your class and race. Later on, you get some profession quests and you will get a quest that's like, it asks you, do you have wings? Do you have or will you ever have wings? And it's like, it asks this of every race and class. And you have there's the no answer. There's a yes answer, which you can answer if you have any race or class. And then there's an option based on your class, which is pretty universally goofy. I love having so much dialogue and so much personality, not just personality in NPCs, but personality you could express for your own character. I don't know if any of this is going to have any long-term game impact. It probably won't, but it gives the world so much life, and I love it. I love how we aren't all fighting, we're working together. If you're Horde, there is one quest in the very, very beginning area after you get off the boat, where you basically go and say hello to the Alliance and say, how can I help out? We're working together, what can I do for you? And before you get over to the NPC, they're saying well, you really need to learn Orcish. Orcish is going to be really good for you. It's going to really help out as we're working together. And you get there and, you end the conversation and one of the NPCs says, blood and thunder in Orcish. And it's like this great moment of, togetherness, which is what the game's been missing for so long.
I agree. It feels good. Like little moments like that are
yeah.
They're these really nice little touches that I think, I don't want to say we were taken for granted before, but I think it breathes more life into it. It also sort of breathes life into that edict of Alexstrasza where it's like, okay, y'all are welcome to come, but remember, no fighting. It's like two kids being invited into the candy shop at the same time. You can have the candy, just don't fight each other. Don't fight over the same candy bar. So, but I like it. I think that there's really nice personal touches. I personally think that the quest design team, the writing team did a phenomenal job so far, with just, like Liz said, giving it character, making it feel like something more than just empty questing. Yes, there are empty questing stuff. I haven't found the poop quest yet, but I'm sure there will be one. But it's a lot of really fun little things. It's been a while since I felt like this about an expansion. I felt like this in the beta. I'm feeling more like this now. It's what I was looking for in a follow-up to Shadowlands, which was a very heavy expansion, right? There's a lot of stuff in Shadowlands that is, I don't want to make it clear, I'm not saying that it's bad, but it's emotionally heavy. There's a lot of questions and things that happen that can weigh on you. There's a lot of talking about grieving and trauma. And this, while there is an element of some of that, and there is just some emotional undertones, a lot of it is just sort of this joy of discovery of this place. And a lot of these characters they're just happy to be back. They never thought they were going to be coming home. And you can feel that in the questing and the interactions. And it's good. I'm here for it.
I will say too, one of my favorite things is spoilers. So I'm not going to talk about it, but I will say that there's something I've been saying needed to be done for literal years. Like, since the end of Cataclysm, I've been saying, what about the X character? When is X character going to be showing up? X character shows up. And it's exactly the conflict I wanted X character to have with Y character. And it's really interesting.
Is this in terms of what you sent me earlier today, Matt?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's a lot to this expansion. We can't really judge it until we get to like a certain point. Like, at this point in Warlords of Draenor, I was as happy as a pig in poop. And I still say that Warlords of Draenor had a great leveling experience.
I would agree.
Oh yeah.
But once it's you have to get beyond that and see how it still feels 6 months down the road. But for right now, I'm actually pretty happy with this expansion. It isn't perfect, but I enjoy it. I even actually like the talent system, which I wasn't as negative about it as Joe was, but I wasn't as positive about it as Liz was. But I've actually come to like it.
Still not liking it.
Yeah, I think the reason I like it is because I think the reason I like it is because I've playing like so many warriors, and each of them can have a different talent build.
Sure.
And be like differently able. Like I have an arms warrior who's all about area effect damage, and I've got an arms warrior who's all about single target. I've got 3 different fury warriors all doing different things. I have the 2 paladins. One of them's made max level, and she's basically a ret holy. Like I play holy and then I play ret. So I have 2 different builds for her, and then I have the other character who's just prot, who I haven't gotten to max level yet. So I do like being able to play multiple characters of the same class and have them feel different. So I like that. I understand why some classes definitely need some work still on their talent system, but overall I like it.
Buff Resto Shaman.
I like what I like most about the talent system is if I'm struggling with something, or I'm like, oh, I really need this ability. I really need to be able to do this for this specific encounter or place in the game. I can just switch my talents on the fly whenever I want to, as long as I'm out of combat.
Yeah, that's a huge quality of life improvement.
That's a huge game changer for World of Warcraft. We have never been able to do this.
You mean I don't have to drop a gank to get a damn tome? It's lovely.
Yeah, I mean, one of the problems with the very original talent trees, which I enjoyed, but the major problem was you couldn't experiment because it would cost you hundreds or thousands of gold to switch your talent trees around. And every time you switched, it got more expensive. So you were really discouraged from experimenting and trying things because gold was a big deal back in Classic. That was a lot of money. And this just changes how you interact with talents. Like, I was leveling my warrior, and I hit this fight, and I'm like, oh, wow, I'm getting the crap beaten out of me. I can't do enough DPS to survive this. And, I died. So I went back, and I'm just like, okay, I'm going to spec more into defensive stuff. And I did, and I just, bang, I instantly beat it. And that's where the talent system really shines. You can switch up to adapt to your situation. I think that's amazing.
Sorry, I was yawning. Not that you're boring me, but because I'm really tired. No, I agree totally. One of the things I remember doing was one of my builds is all about as many healing talents as possible. Might be this character. Let's find out. Yeah. So this character's got Impending Victory. They've got what's the one after? It's not Fast Footwork. Where is it? Oh, here it is. Pain and Gain, the one where if you take any damage, you heal for 4.5% of your maximum health. That happens once every 10 seconds. It's a lot for a talent that works every 10 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
When you're taking damage every 10 seconds, you're going to heal for like 4.5% of your total health. What? Like every 10 seconds? That's amazing. And then you combine that with Second Wind over here, which is, restores 6% of health every 1 second when you have not taken any damage for 5 seconds. So basically, I don't ever have to stop and eat now. Like, never. As soon as combat ends, basically 5 seconds goes by and I just start boop, 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 and I'm going to heal up to full. And whilst I'm fighting, if I take damage, I start healing. And if I hit with, Impending Victory, I will get a big chunk of healing. That's a lot of healing for a warrior. Quite frankly, it's more healing than I know what to do with on a warrior. But I like it, and that's this character. It's a good leveling spec. I think when I get to max level, I'll probably take away some of this. But I mean, I even have Leeching Strikes, and I have what's the one over here? Yeah, That's it. Yeah, Bloodborne, which spreads my deep wounds, rend, and thunderous bleed damage everywhere. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways to get damage spread around, and a lot of ways to heal from it. Like I have Blood Surge, which means that my bleed effects have a chance to grant you 5 rage, and I'm throwing tons of bleed effects around. So it's a really good ability. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. I understand not everybody has talents they like, and I'm sure there are classes that are better than warriors are right now. I'm sure that's true. But I'm enjoying this character, and that's something. I'm trying to think, is there anything else we want to talk about before we get to some questions? I will say the cinematic teams have, of course, done it again. The in-game cinematic team has made some amazing cinematics. I've seen a lot of them now because I don't let myself wait and see them in game. I actually go and find them because we do a lore show every weekend, and I feel like I need to. Have either of you seen any of them? I'm pretty sure Joe's seen one because I sent it to him.
Some of them, but I'm not too far along. I keep getting distracted by side quests. There are so many side quests.
Well, yeah, that's like I'm in the starting zone right now, and I don't want to move on and do the next leg to go. I want to finish all these side quests first. So yeah, it totally is the case. Oh,
I'm level 63 right now, and I bet I have not a third of the way through the zone. So it's nuts.
Yeah, I like it. Joe, I'm sure you like it, although it's probably kind of a problem for you because you tend to have to do all of them.
I do all of them. It's just the thing. It's not necessarily a problem. It's a first world problem. I like it. I like doing it though. I like exploring. I like finding new quest hubs. It's great. I enjoy it.
All right. Anything else you guys want to talk about on Dragonflight before we move on to answer questions about Dragonflight?
I just am really enjoying Dragonflight. This is great.
Yeah, I have to say I'm glad that we get a break from the slightly dour aspect of the previous expansion. But all right, at this point, we're going to move on to doing some questions. As is usually the case for y'all, you got multiple ways you can get a question to us. First up, you can email. We have an email, podcast@blizzardwatch.com, subject line podcast or Blizzard Watch, so we know it's for this show and not the other 2 shows. I'm trying really hard lately not to steal stories from questions from Joe because he's getting better at thumb wrestling. I don't know what he's done, but I don't like. But also, if you'd rather use our Discord, we've got the patron Q and podcast questions channel for our patrons, which we look at first because you all keep the site going, and we like that about you. We like to give something back. And also, if you can't support the site, we understand, so not everybody can be a patron, but you still, there's other ways to support us, like, for instance, answer us questions in our Q and podcast questions channel for non-patrons. That also helps because it means we can do the show. You can also just plain old, tell everybody, oh, hey, go to that site. It's really great. Matt's hair looks terrible. So yeah, this time I'm just going to ask Joe to read the first one.
Sure. This one is from CTC, an Alliance Gnome Rogue. The barbershop is now free, but why do you think there's a charge for mail? 30 copper seems like it's just a nuisance charge. It's just a nuisance charge?
Yeah. It's there because it was always there. Nobody has complained about it. There's no reason to make a change unless people were complaining about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's 30 copper, right? Like most everybody has. By the time you complete your first 5 quests, you're never gonna have to worry about whether or not you have enough gold or copper to send something anyway. But I also think it's a nice little touch of preservation, if that makes sense. While I'm glad we don't have to change or get charged for spec swaps anymore, I'm fine paying my 30 copper.
Liz?
I mean, the only charge I have a problem with right now is transmog. Transmog is so expensive, and it's so crucial to our happy gaming experience because everyone knows that you do more DPS when you look better.
See, people think I'm going to argue with her here. But I'm not going to argue with her here.
Nobody thinks you're going to argue with her.
Yeah, I know, you all do. You all think I'm going to be contrary just to be contrary. And I'm not, because I agree wholeheartedly that transmog's gotta go down or go away. Just the cost of transmog needs to go. It's got to get go. Get you.
Switching an entire transmog costs 400 gold.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do that a lot, that will genuinely run you out of gold pretty quick.
Yeah, especially when you're like me and you don't actually generate a ton of gold except for by doing quests and stuff. I like to change my transmog every time a new piece drops. Not just make a new piece look like my current set, change the entire transmog because that's just how I like to do it. And that's 400 to 600 gold. Yeah, it is. Nice.
I started Shadowlands at I had a lot of gold. I had million plus of gold. I'm down to 400,000 because I've literally just spent all of it on. It might be 500 now, but I've just spent all of it on transmog. Everything that I've spent, all money has been transmog because I don't pay for repairs, and occasionally buying mats for the guild bank. But most of that, almost 90% of it, has just been spent on transmog. So
now I understand you want gold sinks. I get that, but the transmog gold sink it's a gold sink that only affects people who want to transmog. It doesn't have any sort of impact on people who don't transmog. So it's kind of it's an unfair thing to do to people who just want to have fun with this new system in the game. I don't know. I don't like it. I want transmog to be free. I absolutely agree with Liz there.
Yeah, it kind of punishes emergent gameplay. It punishes being creative and doing things other than just going and killing everything and grinding materials and killing raid bosses. So it's kind of a bummer.
I mean, let's be fair. I do all that stuff to do transmog as well. I was just in Legion raids the other day killing things for transmog drops. And the best part was that I had all these warriors now, so I could run the same dungeon over and over again, and the same things dropped every single time. It's all warriors today are getting the exact same pieces off this guy, so I hope you enjoyed that. But regardless, yeah, I definitely would like to see transmog come down in price. But as for the barbershop versus the male 30 copper, I think the 30 copper it's nothing. It's not even a stamp. I mean, I think actual stamps cost more than the 30 pennies now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's fair. I don't think it's a problem. It doesn't disrupt the game in any way. If transmog was 30 copper, I would be totally not having a problem right now. I would be completely okay with that. So if you want to make transmog 30 copper, that's cool. But I feel like that answers the question. Liz, do you want to read the next one, or do you want Joe to do it?
I will read one. I'm gonna skip my question. I feel like I asked if we could talk about ducks, but I feel like we've already talked about ducks with Waddles, the new best character. So I'm gonna go on to the next question.
Waddles, the true jailer.
From Speed Lancer. Sorry, I can totally read. I can definitely do this. Okay. Question. With Shadowlands officially over, is there a collectible you still want from Shadowlands content? Whether it was something you didn't try very hard to get or just had very poor luck in trying. And I am right now currently logged on to WoW, sitting in Shadowlands, working on Covenant quests on alts, because I never really made a big thing about playing alts in Shadowlands, but now I have a lot of alts leveled to max, and I'm like, oh, well, I guess I'll collect transmogs from every Covenant for every armor class, and I'd previously only done that on my main. It didn't seem super important, but now I'm like, oh, I can go collect these and, get a little experience while I'm working on it, and yeah, that's kind of a nice downtime thing. What about y'all?
Sylvanas, legendary bow. We saw it the very first night we took her down, and 2 of our hunters got it, and then we never saw another one since. We even went back during Faded and even organized another run with. We had 14 hunters or something stupid like that. We had a lot of hunters. And we still didn't see a legendary bow. I still want that thing. I want it for the transmog, if nothing else. And I will go back and get it. I will get it. It will be mine. Mark my words. But yeah, that's the one that eluded me the entire time.
Well, by the time we get to 70 and get a little bit of gear, we might be able to go back and do that on just a 5-man, a 10-man group. We might be able to organize that once a week and just get it done for you eventually.
I mean, it won't be the Dark Shaman transmog, which took me 437 days.
We can do this. I'm confident we can do this.
What about you, Matt? No,
there ain't nothing. I didn't like the gear in Shadowlands that much. Sorry, I wanted to. I really did want to. Especially the set from Sepulcher just absolutely did nothing for me. I was looking at it going, no thanks. No, I don't know if this, technically I guess this could count as Shadowlands because it came out in Shadowlands. I do still want to go back and do the Mage Tower and get the alternate set of tier gear from the Mage Tower for my Paladins and my Warriors and my Death Knight. So I still want to do that, but I don't know when I'm going to do that, because from what I understand, the new talent system has completely made the Mage Tower a completely unknown. Like, people don't know how to do it or when to do it, so I don't even know when it's going to be open again. I guess Legion Time Walking?
They haven't announced it.
Yeah, so if it comes back, I would like to do that. Other than that, no, there's really not. I'm not a big pet person. There wasn't any gear. Like, there's no Ash Condi or Sulfuros or anything like that. Nothing I really desperately wanted to have transmog wise. All my transmog, interests are from like later expansions. Like, I want to go do a bunch of Battle for Azeroth stuff for transmog, mostly weapons, but I have no real interest in anything for Shadowland. So yeah.
I am looking forward to going back to Battle for Azeroth raids when I hit level 70 and soloing some.
Yeah,
because you could do some of them in LFR. I could do them in LFR up to a point. I could do the first wing of LFR for every Shadowlands raid, but I couldn't go past that. And I really feel like I need the crown from Opulence. I need this. I need this in my life. Yes. And I just I can't solo Opulence. Opulence is it's a tough one to solo. And I don't have the DPS. I don't have the DPS or the defense to stand against that guy.
But yeah, otherwise I think that's my answer is no, not really.
All right, I guess it's my turn then.
Yep.
This one comes from Galari. Question for podcast: is the expansion what you expected? Could the Ruby Life Shrine be any more amazing? It's a loaded question because we're in the early days, literally the early days of the expansion. So far, yes, it's hitting all the check marks for me. It's doing what I wanted it to do. It's what I expected and more. How that will transition as chapters are released in the story and what's going on as we move forward, we'll see how that holds. But right now, I'm pretty happy with how things are working out. What about you? We'll start with Liz, since Matt's not being very talkative today.
I love the quest. I love the environment. I love just the friendly, cooperative nature of all this. We're going to work together and deal with this. So yeah, I am thrilled. There's a ton of detail in the environment, not just the NPCs, which we've already talked about, how there's a lot of character. There's just a lot of things going on. There's like a dragon tea party up in the Ruby Life Shrine, and it's just really nice. It's nice. The Dragon Isles are just a nice place to go and hang out if you could get over the thing with the primal dragons and whatnot trying to kill us all.
All right, Matt.
Yeah. I would say that, like I said earlier, I'm the guy that at this point in time thought that Warlords of Draenor was the greatest thing that ever happened. And so I am cautiously optimistic about this expansion because right now I'm having a good time. Right now I think it's really well done. Right now there's lots of nice touches. Like, for instance, this orc couple over here are the orc commander from the starting zone, the Exile's Reach, I think it's called.
Mm-hmm.
She's over here. And you get a quest if you're Alliance to go over and get a quest from her from the Alliance commander at Exile's Reach, who's like, I fought with them when the Scourge invaded. They're good people. And I like the idea that there's some people do remember the things that they have done before. That these characters who are like, the Exile's Reach characters are not exactly what I'd call super prominent lore characters, but they remembered them and they put them in here. And there's a whole thing when you get on the boat to come to the Dragon Isles. If you go inside the cabin, there's people sitting around and you can talk to them. And like one of them is like, yeah, so and so and I have been friends since we were both on the Genedar together. Yeah, we spent a long time fighting alongside the Zera and the other Naru against the Legion. I hope this trip doesn't take as long. And the next guy goes, I'm hoping something eats him. I just hope something eats him so I can have a moment's peace. It's like, I just loved it. I'm like sitting there going, this is great. And there's like so many characters that do that kind of thing. So yeah, the starting zone has this like helpful Draconid. Like, you guys have remember the helpful Draconid, right?
Yeah.
Drax, who's super excited to see you and is totally like, oh, I didn't think I'd get to introduce you, but yeah. And you're like, you can say to them, have you not seen whatever your race is? And they're like, oh, I'm sorry. Was I staring? I've just never met anybody from outside the Dragon Isles before. And it's like, oh, you poor little thing. And we already mentioned Waddles, the best little duck. So yeah, there's
I assume you haven't played the quest through its completion with our little Dragonoid friend.
no. I'm sure that something horrible happens. But I have not. I have not gotten that far yet, but I like what I'm getting so far. But that's just my point. Is just for right now. Yes, I'm having a good time. I didn't have any expectations going into this really, other than it was going to be a tonal shift from Shadowlands, which I kind of needed. Again, this isn't Shadowlands' fault, but I wasn't in a good place for a dour and heavy storyline dealing with loss and death and regret and the after effects of war and seeing mass genocide inflicted on people. It was a bit much. So I was looking forward to what I'm getting so far. That would be my answer to that question. And technically that's us done, because I talked for longer than I thought I was going to. Probably because Joe stung me by saying I wasn't being talkative.
My plan has succeeded.
Fine, I'm talkative. I'll talk. I'll talk all you want. That's what we want. Oh, dang. But regardless, Joe's going to do a thing, and then I'm going to do the goodbyes.
Alrighty, well, folks, Blizzard Watch is made possible due to the generous contributions at patreon.com/BlizzardWatch. Your continued support means this podcast site and community is able to thrive and grow. Blizzard Watch supporters enjoy exclusive benefits like early access to the podcast, better chance at having your question answered on our podcast with a Q, and an ads-free site experience.
Thank you very much, Joe. And also thank you to Liz as well for being here and helping keep the show going when I'm yawning every 10 seconds. I do not know what's happening to me. Shouldn't be this time. Regardless, this has been the Blizzard Watch podcast. If you've got an email for the show, you can send it to podcast@blizzardwatch.com. Subject line podcast of Blizzard Watch so we know it's for this show. Or you can hit up our Discord servers. We've got the Patron Q and Podcast Questions channel for patrons and the Q and Podcast Questions channel for non-patrons. We look in both for questions. And thank you guys so much for asking questions and being here while we do the podcast. And thank you to Joe and Liz for being here again. So I can do things other than yawn constantly. My God. This has been the Blizzard Watch podcast. Thank you guys, and we'll be here next week.